The story begins with a young, determined woman named Cheryl Strayed. She's embarking on a long, challenging hike, a journey of 11,000 kilometers. Right from the start, things go wrong. Cheryl injures her foot, and one of her shoes falls off along the trail. Frustrated and angry, she throws away her other shoe as well. At this moment, the story shifts into a flashback. We see that Cheryl lost her mother, Bobby, to cancer during her childhood. This loss pushed her into a deep depression. Struggling with grief and loneliness, Cheryl made some poor choices in her life. She started using drugs and engaged in casual relationships to cope with her emotions. She got married, but the marriage failed, and eventually, she got divorced. Determined to regain control of her life and overcome her pain, Cheryl decides to embark on a long solo hike. The idea was suggested by her best friend. Even though she has no prior hiking experience, she packs her heavy backpack and sets off. Almost immediately, Cheryl realizes how heavy the bag is and how exhausting the trek will be. The backpack contains all her essential supplies. Without them, surviving even a single day would be nearly impossible. She slowly moves forward, and after some time, doubts creep in. Hiking is far tougher than she imagined. Turning back doesn't feel like an option anymore. By the end of the day, she sets up camp in a safe spot and begins writing about her experiences in her journal. Cheryl brought a stove with her, but she mistakenly packed the wrong gas canister, so the stove doesn't work. This small error frustrates her. That night, she sleeps in her tent, surrounded by the completely isolated wilderness. Despite her fear, Cheryl doesn't give up. The next morning, she sets out again, taking deep breaths as she carries the heavy pack. When she feels hungry, she eats very little to stretch her food supplies for the journey ahead. By the 8th day of hiking, Cheryl's condition is worsening. The trail is far more difficult than she expected. One day, she reaches a field where a man is working on a tractor. Cheryl approaches him for help. The man says, "I'm busy right now. You can ride in my vehicle." She hesitates, noticing a gun in the truck, which makes her anxious. Out of fear, Cheryl lies, saying, "My husband is coming. He'll be here any minute." The man smiles and replies, "Come to my house. You'll get some food there." A mix of fear and hunger overwhelms her, but she eventually agrees to follow him. At the man's house, his wife is also present. Seeing her brings Cheryl a sense of comfort. A meal is served, and Cheryl, starving, eats like a woman who hasn't tasted a proper meal in days. Afterward, she takes a hot shower and spends the night in their home. The next morning, the man drives Cheryl back to the hiking trail. She resumes her journey, and by nightfall, she sets up camp again. This time, she has the correct stove and prepares her meal comfortably. During her hike, Cheryl encounters a dangerous snake, one whose bite could be deadly. Terrified, she runs back to her tent. Even inside, she keeps imagining the snake. Gathering her courage, she uses a whistle and her flashlight to scare away the animals. The lights and sounds drive the animals away, and Cheryl survives the night. The next morning, she continues her hike. Along the way, she meets a young man named Greg, who is bathing in a river. He tells her, "See you at Kennedy Meadows." With that, he moves on, and Cheryl continues alone. After 14 days of hiking, she finally reaches Kennedy Meadows in California, where Greg meets her again and introduces her to other hikers. Cheryl also receives some supplies from her best friend and a letter from her ex-husband. "I'm proud of you. You've walked 1,000 miles. By this point, Cheryl has indeed completed 1,000 miles, a milestone that reflects her inner strength and determination. By now, Cheryl has completed thousands of miles. Here she meets an experienced hiker named Ed. Seeing her, Ed immediately notices that Cheryl's backpack is way too heavy. She's carrying far more than she needs. Ed helps her by removing unnecessary items. He also notices that Cheryl's shoes are extremely tight, causing painful blisters on her feet. He gives her a pair of sandals, which are much more comfortable for her. Cheryl calls her best friend and requests a new pair of shoes to be sent to the next station. Once the shoes are on the way, she continues her journey. Now, she has to cross the Sierra Nevada mountains. Greg had warned her earlier about the heavy snow in that region, but Cheryl doesn't want to stop. She bravely treks across the snow-covered trails. Exhausted, she sits down and notices that one of her toenails has become very loose. She knows she must remove it, or wearing her boots will become unbearable. While removing her toenail, one of her boots slips down the mountainside. Seeing this, she becomes frustrated and angry, throwing her other boot down as well. This is the exact scene where the story began, the moment she lost both shoes. Cheryl now wears the sandals Ed gave her, but hiking on mountainous terrain is still extremely difficult. By this point, she has been hiking for 49 days. She reaches the next station, where her best friend has sent her the new shoes, a much-needed relief for her feet. One day, she takes a rest there, reflecting on some old memories from her life. By now, Cheryl has been on the trail for 58 days, nearing the final stretch of her journey. The ultimate goal of 11,000 kilometers is in sight. But the challenges aren't over. Her water supply runs out, and dehydration starts affecting her body. In the distance, she spots a steel drum and runs toward it with hope, only to find it empty. She feels disappointed, but refuses to give up and presses on. A little farther, she finds a small pool of water. The water is dirty and undrinkable directly. Cheryl has learned from her journey how to purify unsafe water. She collects it in a bottle and uses purification tablets. At that moment, two hunters arrive, asking for water. Cheryl tells them, this water isn't safe to drink. The hunters behave rudely, and Cheryl senses their intentions aren't good. She immediately leaves the area. After the hunters leave, Cheryl returns because she plans to spend the night there. But one hunter comes back. Cheryl feels nervous, but says firmly, I've decided I will return. The hunter leaves, and Cheryl realizes that stopping here isn't safe. She gathers her belongings and continues her hike without pause. After 62 days of trekking, she reaches a small town and meets a young man named Jonathan. Jonathan asks, would you like to come to a concert with me? Cheryl smiles and agrees. That night, they enjoy the concert together. The next day, Cheryl resumes her hiking journey, heading toward Mount Hood National Forest, where she encounters a hiking group. She spends the night with them. The next morning, Cheryl meets a llama and an elderly woman traveling with their young grandson. The child asks her, where's your mom? Cheryl replies, my mom isn't in this world anymore. The child feels sad and begins to sing a folk song, Red River Valley, which his mother used to sing to him. Then they continue on their way. Cheryl becomes emotional, and tears stream down her face. By now, Cheryl has completed 94 days of her journey. She finally arrives at the Bridge of the Gods, the bridge where her long, grueling, and life-changing hike was meant to end. She takes a deep breath, recalling the very first day of her journey. Every struggle, every pain, every feeling has been recorded in her journal. In this way, Cheryl successfully completes her long and challenging journey.